By happenstance, I play a semi-regular group of discovery play with my friends where we make up the scenario and the rules when we start the game. Very minimal rules, and make the scenario up like everyone gives an aspect of the world, and then we just improvise everything from there. We have been running a game of Rule of Mage, which was like everyone is playing a wizard with a familiar in a steampunkish magical world, and rule of cool applies. If it's cool, it works. And that scenario had so much fun. We played it for several sessions through 2 or 3 adventures. But yesterday, 2 of the other players sadly couldn't make it to the game, so the remaining 3 of us were stuck with not knowing what to do. But in the spirit of discovery play, we quickly came up with a new setting, a rule set I wanted to try out for some time, and I'd been working on it in my mind. That was to emulate a Chanbara samurai movie or a spaghetti western, where after a long build-up, the final conflict, the final action and violence is usually settled with a single sword stroke or single shot. And since one of my friends doesn't like a samurai and Asian setting very much, and I thought a Western setting was not what I was looking for at the moment, we finally settled on playing in the Mandalorian universe, which is basically a spaghetti Western in space. And that got my imagination going, and I quickly had a very basic plot for the players to explore. They were going to the deuterium mining station on a frozen moon world of H311, where a splinter cell of the Empire still held out under the tyrannic rule of General Lindfarn and his right-hand man, Hank Bullet Hell Starscream. Not super original, but worked out for a pretty fun game. So with that basic setting and a droid smuggler and some kind of amphibian bounty hunter arriving on the planet, the scene was set, cue in the music, and let's go. But let me explain you the rules system I came up with to handle this whole situation, because I found that it worked very well, very streamlined, and a very fast game, and I was able to handle the whole plot in just 2 hours. This is the basic system I used for this game. I broke it down to just 4 abilities: strength, agility, wits, and empathy, and all of your basic resolution and ability checks would be done on this wall. And to generate a character, you would distribute 14, 12, 10, and 8 on these scores, and was a D20 roll under system. This is very basic, but a very solid system. To make the game feel, to give it this spaghetti western, Chanbara, Mandalorian feel and theme, I added two additional attributes. Cool, which is how cool your character is under pressure, his emotional state, so to say. Friends, how many allies you've got, how many armed warriors you can bring to a fight. And arms, how good your weapons and armor actually is. And these 3 attributes were to go up and down during the game. You do something cool that makes you feel cool, do something to heighten your emotional state, you get points in cool. If you gain allies, you gain points in friends. If you find weapons and armor, you gain points in arms. And I would usually give out 1 or 2 points in this, depending on how big the action were the players took to gain these advantages. And if they messed up a scene, I would give them damage on these 3 attributes. And in the beginning I let them distribute 2, 1 and 0 on these 3, so they didn't start with anything to lose, really. Now, the kicker is, in this style of game, this genre, the whole plot evolves towards a final confrontation between the heroes and the villains. And after a huge build-up, this conflict is resolved in a brief but violent outbreak of combat. So I made up 2 villains as well for my players to have this final confrontation with, and I gave them these same stats. And if it would be more than just a one-shot, the villains could have taken steps to attack these attributes on the players and also to shore up their own attributes, so that when the final confrontation happens, they've got the greatest chance of success. And for this final confrontation, all of that is irrelevant. When it comes down to it, when they are standing facing each other, drawing their guns, drawing their swords, the violence is supposed to happen in an instant. So I had this one roll resolution mechanic. You roll a d20, you add your cool, friends and arms that you brought to this scene, and the villain would do the same, and whoever rolled higher would win and kill, or at least grievously wound, the other one. So we had this final confrontation scene where the players, a bounty hunter and a smuggler, would bring their newfound rebellion friends and some arms they had improvised to ambush a convoy of the bad guys. They blew up the lead vehicle and then jumped at them from every direction. Battle broke out between the stormtroopers and the rebellion, and then one of the villain, Hulk, Bullet Hell, Starscream, not the most original name, came out of one of the vehicles of the convoy, and one of the players, the bounty hunter, came out to face him. And they rolled on with their d20, and the player rolled not very good, but Starscream rolled terrible. So Starscream came out with this big heavy machine gun blaster, blasting away at the bounty hunter, but before he could hit him, get in his sights, the bounty hunter drew and fired a single shot and dropped Bullet Hell's Starscream. That confrontation was over in an instant. Now, what this all did was, it was a brutally fast system. I let the players choose how they would like to gain these attributes or attack the enemy on these attributes, and then describe the scene, and then resolve the scene as best as I could with 1 or 2 rolls on the ability scores. And if the players succeeded, they gained these attributes or depleted the enemy's attributes. Or if the players didn't make their rolls, they would take damage to their own attributes. For example, at the beginning of the story, they wanted to go to a drug dealer to get some information, but He was beset by a local thug that was not very happy with the prices. They tried to talk him down with not much success, and then a small bar fight broke out, but both players failed their roles on empathy and agility. So they lost a point in cool and a point in arms respectively after getting beaten up by that thug. It's a bit of a setback, but the story could continue. And since the whole rule system was so streamlined, we played the whole adventure I had imagined, from arriving on the mining planet to getting information, gaining allies, and finally confronting the villains in just 2 hours. It was super fast. But I think I would have liked to draw this out a bit more. It was actually too fast. The final confrontation arrived too soon, and the players were not yet really invested in their characters and in the plot, and didn't care that much if they were to succeed at the final confrontation. So it was not as tense of a situation as I would have liked. But I was running out of time at the end, so I wanted to wrap it up quickly. While I succeeded in that, I would have liked to spend a bit more time on the final confrontation, give the players bit more room to describe their own characters' actions, and build up the tension like one of those movies would do, with 10-minute like wide shot and close-ups showing the scene, showing the faces of the villain and the hero on close up, giving you insight into their emotional state. What do you think? Am I on to something, or is this just useless dice tossing and I'm missing the point completely? Maybe you've got an idea how to improve on this very basic system. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.